Boy, you know you make me float. Boy, you really give me high. Ooh, I feel like I'm on dope, 'cause you.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
Yes, so we're all here. So I'm Star Girl, and I am a host of Depth of Divine Feminine here with these beautiful ladies. We just wanted to hop on and have a nice, authentic, deep, really introspective conversation, discussion, touching on topics that may strike your mind or get you to think outside of the box, or just honestly sharing different perspectives of just common topics that we see specifically pertaining to women for International Women's Day, Women's History Month. I look at us as women who are creating history. So, and we just wanted to share this discussion and open up the floor also as just like a means to kind of get to know us a little bit more, because we do also offer classes every fall season, summer going into fall. So this is kind of also just giving everyone more into a more perception of just who we are and how we think and what topics we cover in our classes even. So you're just gonna open up the floor and pass it to Free, who is the founder of Depth of Divine Feminine. So yeah.
Hey everyone. I'm Free, and
And
but
here we
yes,
are.
just it amazing with the introduction. Happy International Women's Day. Happy Women's Day to all of the mothers, the women, everyone except men. But yes, I'm happy to be here and just share this discussion with everyone and let y'all get into our minds and get to know us more.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I
like
how
we're all
just
kind of on the move and doing things while we're doing this. I think that really speaks to the feminine mystique, as it were. We're here having a conversation. We're also driving, cooking tortillas and whatever else, all at the same time.
The most cool hands of a woman.
Yeah.
I guess I can speak because I'm also driving. I'm running errands, handling business while still being a mother and a woman at the same time. But my name's Jackie New, and like Star Girl said, we just want to bring a different perception or viewpoint of how we see certain things as women, but not like our perspective is going to be different than it normal, but it's more of a down-to-earth, realistic viewpoint of how divine feminine can help other people see how our perception is.
I'm Shine. Okay. I love that we're having this conversation today because it helps anchor or affirm like all the work that we've been doing inside, and really like believing in ourselves and coming together to like share our own perception, our own expression. I'm totally in that era right now, so like I am grateful for that. I really do appreciate you guys for being here.
Oh yeah, I'm the hang number, by the way.
And we are missing JDB. So shout out to her presence in here.
The inner child healer. She's in the inner child zone right now. It's a good place.
Okay, so just getting into our topics. One of our first topics that we had was, I'll just start off with just women working in groups, or how women can work better together, or how women work together. There's also a saying that women work better in groups than rather alone. What do you guys think about that topic?
I think that makes sense because we already know that feminine energy is like multiple, masculine is singulatory. So as above, so below, esoterically speaking, that's true. And in reality, that can be true too. Although women working in groups can have a a positive dynamic, or it could be negative. But either way it goes, the whole idea of working in groups as women or feminine energies can quickly multiply and build something within itself, especially if all parties are in somewhat of their own individual alignments and have the same similar type of ideals and morality systems going on, to where we can conjoin and merge together, and it can be something beautiful. But like I said, it can always go into the negative end too, and feminine energies can join and it be something that a golem that they created that's not as beautiful, but it's still something that was produced based off of the multiplicity of it. What y'all think?
Jackie, hell yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
You know, women are correlated with like cycles. And if you're working with a group of women and everybody has their time, and it's better because we get to, you know, sit down and let her go. Sit down, let her go. So it works better, and we're just all kind of in that behind the scenes, emotionally connected. So it helps us kind of like understand each other a little bit more.
And then it's like, you know, it does make a lot of sense, because the feminine energy is like accumulation, you know, and what we're building on. And I like how you said, like, oh, we give each other that space to just, you know, speak and express ourselves. And then, you know, we formulate, we keep going and we keep building. And that brings me like to the earth element, you know, and that is feminine energy too.
Being able to feel something, foundate something, stay on something consistent enough. Like women, like we can be very motivative and like determined and get it done, and we can see something through. So that's good with that earth element and everyone working together and all of our hands on something, and it's just getting done creatively with the water energy, and it's all imaginative and connected emotionally, and we're just making it happen for.
Yeah,
I think as far as like just, you know, the saying, I guess women work better in groups. I agree with everything you guys have said. Well, you gals have said. And yeah, because we have so much to offer and just so much abundance, like with just being the receivers, you know, like being the receivers, and even down to the fact that we create life, and that we can literally create life and grow a human inside of us. Just speaks to that creation aspect you was talking about, in terms of like women being creative and, you know, again, just abundant, and that being shared. It's almost like the analogy of like, you know, your cup running over and spilling over and like helping others, or just everything she touches, she heals, and things like that. Like, you know, like that, I feel like that's meant to be shared in community. Again, even down to the fact that we can create a human, and we can create our own community, you know. So I think it does make sense for a woman to be amongst that type of support and community, because we also bear a lot with just being the receivers, like emotional things and just stuff that's passed down from our mothers, and, you know,
well,
like just get deep.
Let me pose a question. So what do y'all think about women who, because it's a lot of women, I've even felt like this before, who felt like they rather not be around other women, they get along better with men, which that's natural too. I can see how that makes sense. But what y'all think about that?
I think that's most of the time that's coming from a woman who's had bad experiences with women. And I feel like that's bigger than just a woman problem. Honestly, it's a relationship thing in general, because it's like, I don't know, I feel like we should be able to get along with people. Like if you resonate with somebody, like you're gonna care enough about the relationship, you know, to like want to have like a healthy relationship. So now if that woman has no desire to
even try
have,
it,
you know, then that, I feel like that's a personal thing.
right? women are vortexes. We have that attraction quality to where even as a woman's being around another woman, I can sense like that. I can, if I didn't know you was a woman or something, I could feel that you were a woman, me being a woman. And maybe some women haven't had the opportunity to be around women who correspond with them enough for them to see the beauty in that. Because I was about to say importance in that, but it's a more of a beautiful thing over it being important first.
I like that you
I don't know
said
how I'm gonna
that,
say
because
that.
I think I used to feel like, oh, I'm more of a, what do they call it, guy's girl or something like that.
Yeah.
But I feel like you truly have to like experience like being a woman and having a group of other women, because women are the supporters. Like a group of women is going to feel way better than a group of men, at least for a
Right.
woman, because it's the support that women are able to give, the emotional intelligence, and that's important. So I feel like it's probably just like certain experiences women probably
Right.
had, or people can have like traumas from childhood with their actual mother, or just or even like confidence issues, or being like too introvert, and they just probably like, because women like I've noticed that women, like, we speak with emotion, and we can enter and exit out of vibes, and sometimes if you're not like in a certain space to handle that, that may like throw you off, and you may
Mm-hmm.
not be able to jump in with the women. So
Yeah, it could be a matter of self-love too, because who don't want to
yeah.
feel that supportive energy? But at the same time, back to the trauma though, if it's a group of women who are not like trying to bond with the female, they could all be supporting something that's negative to that one individual, and maybe that's where the trauma could have came from. But that supportive quality, or that multiple bringing the power in quality with women, that don't go nowhere, even for the good or the bad. My car's getting worked on, y'all.
Yeah, piggybacking off of what y'all have already said. Yeah, like if you growing up, if you didn't see like, healthy women relationships, because my mom, she had the same kind of two friends, and then it's like now I'm kind of looking at my life and I'm like, I got the same little two friends, but I feel like my my group has expanded more, but I feel like that also plays a part too, because some girls grow up and their community is kind of already chosen. It's for them. It's kind of like already passed down, and they grew up with this girl since she was 5, and or the same. People grow up in more community-based settings already. But yeah, I feel like I went through like phases of like maybe I don't get along with girls, like
Yeah.
and then it was like, okay, but when I started working through things with women, because like you said, Free, like we are emotional, so it's gonna be a little bit more intense, than with a guy that may be nonchalant, or he may brush things off, and you like, okay, I guess we cool, where the
Yeah.
girl gonna be like, the girl gonna be like, oh, hold on, because da, 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 da. You like, I ain't even trying to deal with that,
Yeah.
like
It's almost
what?
like a avoidant thing. Like if you like girls, like almost like a avoidant thing. Like, why can't you, or why you feel that way?
Exactly. Which I feel like brings us to our next topic. If y'all want to go in.
Before you say that, I was about to say how a group of women can be intimidating too, like even for the good and the bad. I just have to throw that in there, because I remember my first time really experiencing, because I used to hear people, and it sounds so stupid because I'm a woman and I'm a human in this world, but I used to always hear people say how women are like this and women. I'm like, I don't see what y'all talking about. And once I had worked at, it was like a factory with nothing but women, and that changed my whole, and I was like 22 years old. I was grown, but it changed my whole perception of women, and in a bad way to a certain degree. But during that time, now that I'm older, I understand that's just humans period. But it was shocking for me to experience the cattiness and the messiness and the backdooring. I was blowed. And I ain't gonna go in detail right here, but I was shocked because they would talk about each other behind each other's back, find out that they was talking about each other behind each other's back, and then still go to lunch together. And I was like, the fuck? And so
Yeah,
that's why I was saying like the the opposite part of the dichotomy when groups of women get together, but they're not in alignment, but yet they still are emotional, and they have these vortexes that just merge in together with one another.
Yeah.
Keep working on my car. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but
No.
yeah, y'all can hear that.
No.
Oh, okay, good. It's distracting to me though. But yeah, just a group of women, whether they're aligned or not, is a power thing. It's powerful, and it can be intimidating. But if it's like a harmonious type of group, that intimidation would be so, just as much as it's intimidating, it would be so like harmonious and beautiful too once you get in and realize, oh, so a lot of support based on all these women not being haters or not being catty and competitive in their masculine energy, but yet they still females, but trying to compete in their ego. Like, that's where the distortion comes in at.
Yeah.
But you can move on now, Star Girl.
No, I was listening. Yeah, that's real. Yeah, it's like, like you were saying, like, at that point, it's just like, what is this group? Like, what are y'all coming together on, essentially? And, like, what are y'all accepting in this circle? Like, do y'all see the toxicity? Like, are y'all aware of it? Are y'all okaying things that shouldn't be okayed amongst each other, agreeing to things that y'all shouldn't be agreeing upon amongst each other?
I was just thinking,
Yeah.
because in that dynamic, I was kind of like unaware, and there was conflict with me and a girl, and I would go back and tell all the girls, she said this about you, fuck that bitch, just to find out the next day they still went to lunch together. I was like, what the hell? I was trying to cause division, but it didn't even work, even in the group, because it was a group of women. They was like merged together, whether or not they were on a more aligned type of timing or not. They still shared some type of morality together that they was trauma bonding amongst each other with.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even separate that, telling them how this girl just did you. It didn't matter to them. I was shocked.
Working in a factory will do that to you.
Like, that's like the emotional intelligence of like a woman. Like, even though people can be talking, but it's still like that underground understanding, because I feel like women, like, maybe, we know when we're wrong, we know when we do something. It's like an understanding, that emotional intelligence,
Yeah, it's like the idea of grace, essentially. And that can be, and that can be a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful thing that we have. It's just sometimes it is abused, I feel,
that water.
But yeah, because like, it's like you said, like, essentially what may be looking toxic to us is someone's life. It's someone, it's someone's world. They like, okay, this is my world, this is my lifestyle, this is what I'm doing, and you can stay over there with that. But just what you were saying, Free, to your point, it's the underlying, we both know what type of world we living in, we both know what we doing, so it's like you can get through certain things, but you gotta check some stuff, but and I do feel like women, the reason why we see more women getting together than men is because we are more willing to do that with each other, like, check each other. Like, you don't really see a lot of men checking men,
Yeah, they even sound crazy, because I'm like, dang, y'all supposed to fight? Like, it look like.
I think it's men. Like, I know this is International Women's Day, but I think something men can learn from women is knowing how to communicate your emotions, in effective ways, in efficient ways. And a lot of times they don't really be knowing how they feel for real. It's like they know, but then it's like that, I don't know, it's like that underlying thing you were saying.
That's where women come in next. That's why having a good woman is a necessity for men, and having a good man around is a necessity. From my perspective, I feel like it's important to have.
They go both hand in hand. Yeah, it's like the dark and then the light, and it's just like, it's in the dark, you're not gonna see it, like, but I can see it, like we navigate that world,
Yeah.
it's like that intuition and emotional intelligence and the art of the manipulation, all things that we're talking about today.
Because a man is looking straight at the facts and not considering like the background of what could have been it having some deeper things going on. They just looking straight at the facts, and it makes
It's
sense because it don't matter at some point what's going on behind in the background in a man's world. But to bring a little emotional intelligence, it allow men to work in groups better. I guess I don't know. I'm not a man, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Originally, I was gonna go into the what is being a girl's girl, because I do feel like, we do have a lot of power, and we can, like Free was saying, we can motivate, we can attract some stuff, we can make some stuff shake. So, but when is it like, okay, like, girl, you need to check her on this, like, this isn't, I don't think you should be rallying up women to
yeah.
in this way. Like, this is kind of like toxic. It's detrimental to just society, and how, are just the children growing up and being influenced by things like social media and so the internet and things like that, and then what we see trending in terms of women, and then what we see trending in terms of like men and relationships, and that our the schools are using the internet and the iPad, so the kids are on the internet online, they're gonna see these things. So, to our mothers out there with daughters and even sons, but when your kid get on the online, do you want your daughter to be a part of some of these groups you may see, or of women like agreeing a certain type of culture or lifestyle when it pertains to men? Like, what are your thoughts about that, essentially? Like, do you think this girl got a good head on her shoulders and yes girl, or are you like, can you see your younger self in these women, or past you, where you like, you feel her, how she's feeling, but she may not be taking the right action. And then it's just like, you got all these women who resonate with this emotional feeling, agreeing to this action. Hello.
oh Lord, what happened? Dang, just she was going in.
Yeah.
That reminded me of the conversation I was telling y'all that I had. Well, it wasn't a conversation. I was on TikTok, and I was in a room where there was a better male in there full of women, because it was the women's room. I forgot what the title was. I can't remember what the title was, but long story short, they was talking, and it was making sense at first, and I thought that these were healed women. But eventually, as the conversation continued, I realized these are feminists, because the whole topic of their discussion. You talking to me? Oh, I had realized that that they were feminists, and they were saying that they don't need men. And I'm like, well, who y'all gonna fuck if y'all don't need men? How y'all gonna how we gonna continue the world? Their whole premise was, I don't have kids with these fuck niggas. And I'm like, damn, that's what the world coming to. Because, okay, I understand there are fuck niggas, but y'all playing out the equivalent of what these fuck niggas are by being feminists. And y'all don't see that, and that's not gonna help the situation. So does that mean that the world is just over? Because that's what essentially it would happen if women didn't deal with men and men didn't deal with women, and I don't know what the full play out that they expected. And these are the type of women that I'm talking about that I was shocked to find out exist when I was working at that factory. I was shocked. And I was shocked last night, because how does that make sense? So I guess like how we have emotional intelligence, to equalize that even more, we got to have some logical intelligence too, because how that's gonna in the long run, what's the world gonna look like? Is there gonna be a world? Are we gonna still be alive? Like, what the fuck?
That's what I was thinking. Like, that has to be like just acting out of too much emotions, because it's like that's like hatred at that point, to where you just like hating people, and that's a strong emotion. So it's like that just shows the lack of direction or even being logical to make that make sense.
And the power of our emotions coming together, every woman in the chat was agreeing. And I know in their heart, all of them didn't come there with that ideology. But I guess the power of all of these women joined together in a group and had the same type of idea about this, a lot made everybody else jump on board, because they also have experienced some type of trauma that they was able to trauma bond with in that moment. But now you changing that's unnatural though at some point. Even though we do know there's fuck niggas out here, and it's like kind of rare I ain't gonna say rare, I don't know. But it's you're gonna come across a fuck nigga quickly before you may come across a good man sometimes. And that don't mean that you supposed to just tie your up and excuse my language. That doesn't mean that you're just supposed to be over when it comes to mating in nature, like we're supposed to do as mammals that we are. That's crazy. I don't know what to do about that. The only thing I know to do about that is to continue being holding my stance down and at least saying something. I guess we have to still stand on our two and still speak up for what's right. And I guess a woman would be the best person to do that amongst a group of women, because they not gonna listen to no man, even if he is making sense. And a real man wouldn't even be in there.
He's gonna say some shot.
No, it's okay.
No, what you can say? Because Jessica done left the building. My polarity. Where's she at?
Well, I was just gonna say, yeah, I totally get what you're saying. How being over emotional, too much in an emotion, can cause to like you to be out of character. You know, even if that's your character, having emotional intelligence, you have to have a form of a release system where you're releasing either to the right individuals or finding a medium for yourself to like bring it all out. Yeah.
And I like how we were saying earlier about like women being able to take accountability for putting themselves in certain situations with these men that they find that is bad or so traumatizing. It's like women don't take that accountability and play their part or take their part. It's like almost like playing that victim role almost. And it's kind of like women play emotional stuff and dealing with the waters. And it's like you feel like you're the victim and that, you know.
Already starting off with a lack of logic because we're already feminine in a emotional space. So if you don't have a good masculine example, like a dad, good brother, or whoever, preacher, or whoever, a teacher, principal, somebody that you can look at and be like, now that's a good man, I know they exist. But still, a woman that doesn't use her logic at all can still have that example and be traumatized and won't even use that example to let her know that everybody's not like that. And then that's like a lack of accountability, even though it's not directly, but it's still a lack of noticing the obvious. Like, and then that will be a whole full-on lack of accountability at the end of it all, because that's gonna put you in a space to where you're not even emoting right, and you're not doing life right. You're not even relating correctly. If already before you even give a person a chance, you already assume that they ain't shit. Like the lady last night, she was going on and on about how she handles her man, and it was so disingenuous. And I'm like, do you not realize the relationship that you're talking about, that's such an ideal one, is so fake and phony? Because she was saying all he do is make sure he gives me my money, he gonna do what I say, but she don't even like men. So that man, he's not a good man, but in her eyes he is. But that's what like. It's so confusing. It was so disingenuous, and it was sad because she thought that made her a boss bitch for that. And in my eyes, I'm looking at her like, bitch, you is stupid as hell.
That's kind of like what Jess was talking about, like with being a girl's girl. When do you let that woman know that's not okay? Because it's like you gotta sit down and be like, you know you're really tired. You have periods. You be overlaying. Like we only get like one good week out of the month. So it's like at some point you're overextending yourself trying to lead and direct a man, and it's like.
Well, from that lady's perspective, the man is gonna do all of the heavy work and all of the hard work, and she don't have to do nothing but sit there and look pretty and be a bitch. And that's how a lot of women look at it.
But subconsciously, he is still leading her. So it's like, where if he's not even like leading her in real life physically, he's still leading her. So it's like, where are y'all going if you playing the enemy?
That's what I'm saying. What are you doing? It makes no sense. It's stupid. Because at the end, you're not going to find actual happiness. You won't even experience that, because in your mind, it don't exist. And you're in a situation that you set up to it not existing. It can't even flourish like that because you are not going to give it a chance. And in fact, you won't even attract the type of man that could show you that, because you don't want that. You just want a man that's going to take care of you and be at your bending knee, and he can go ahead on and deal with whoever he want to deal with because you don't care. Only thing and that's masculine. That's how feminine plays out the masculine energy, and she still has jewelry and makeup on and hair.
Okay, let's get back on the women. We gonna probably go back to the girls topic when Jess hop back in. Y'all want to go into parenting and motherhood and still be an individual when having kids, or how to keep yourself while having kids, and just the experience of motherhood and parenting and keeping up with yourself as a woman, the importance, or whatever thoughts you have.
Definitely juggling. It's juggling. We are a bunch of jugglers, like performers here, making it look nice, but it is tough sometimes. Just having that awareness of, oh, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta do this. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you know, having outlets like this with you guys, where we get to talk about, you know, motherhood and how it's very similar. Like right now, my daughter is taking the chair out where she's not supposed to, but and I'm here trying to talk to you guys, but it's okay. She's all right, and I'm all right. Yeah, but it's definitely very powerful in motherhood, I feel like, because like seeing how I have to cater to my kids, that energy that I give to them, what do I give to myself? Have I been doing that to myself?
Right.
And that self-care is no joke, and it's very, I feel like, needed as us women to really take care of ourselves, as far as like making ourselves feel good, you know, being our own like superhero, being our own person that we can turn to within ourselves to just like balance all the external energy out while just keeping the peace inside.
Right. Veronica, what you got to say?
I agree. I'm just listening to Shine's words as like a headache is kind of looming into my head, and I'm like, yes, self-care, nap, nap.
Yeah.
Falling into my own space.
Yeah, that self-care is important, because if you are unhinged and you just have so much going on, and your child asks you, or like Shine's baby was just doing with the chair, you might just because we're already like, and I don't want to say it like that, like we don't have any logical intelligence, but just off of default, the first reaction is going to be that survival mode, because you're already fighting for your survival if you don't have any self-caring going on, or if you don't have some alone time at some point, some time to just think about the things that you want to think about that ain't got nothing to do with those kids for a little while. But then there's the mommy guilt though, because then I can go on a vacation, the vacation of my life, but my kid's not there. First of all, I feel some kind of guilt just by leaving them. So it's a balance, like it's a balance. But you got to get used to having some alone time so that you can still have a sense of yourself, because you're the first example. And if you don't have a sense of self, then what is the example that you're setting? Just an unhinged mom? Like you got to have some type of balance. Even when that mom guilt comes in, you got to remember, okay, someone needs to feel guilty for me not having my own space for a little while, because I'm gonna feel guilty in the long run when I go off on my child just because I was frustrated about my feet hurting, or how I had to do all this by myself. You got to have your own. You have to preserve some time just for you at some point in order to balance it out, especially if you're a single mother. Now, I'm only speaking from a single mother's perspective, because I haven't had the opportunity to like be in a house. Well, I have, but that's another story. But I'm only speaking from a single mother's perspective at the moment. And I'm sure it's probably quite similar when it comes to a woman with the father in the house and whatnot. But I can only speak from my perspective for now.
it definitely makes it. I want to give you the baton to like here, do some like help me out and come in, because there's certain things that like I can, kind of like what you were explaining, Jackie, like only give from your perspective, and I'm not a man, you know what I'm saying? So like, as far as my son goes, having my partner definitely does help, because there's certain things that I don't really get, being a growing boy, and having all those hormones and, outlooks on life and, and the times that we're in and stuff. So talking to my significant other and being open about that and being honest, like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing or something. I don't know
Right.
this situation. I don't know how to angle it or approach it. Can you help me out here? Which definitely does help out a lot.
Yeah,
It
I was
does
gonna
help.
say that being able to ask for help if you're like even if you're not a single mom, like as a mother, like that is important to know how to ask for help.
Yeah,
Mhm.
two heads are always better than one.
Yeah.
Well, not always, but for the most part, two heads are better than one. So to be able to have that balance or that other angle to um play things out, that always helps, because then you're easier to find a different route in how you've been handling things when you got somebody else doing it their way. And that can give you an example of how to use your masculine energy, because if I was when I'm around a man amongst my children and I see how he interacts with them, I kind of understand, okay, in that moment when my baby bumps her knee or something, let me respond like this to help to balance the dynamic out, because she doesn't have that masculine energy in the house all the time. Just like how the women in the group we were just talking about, that was all in their emotions and not being logical about the topic that they were discussing. I could be all in my emotions just in general with how I raise my kids or how I discipline them, and never see the opposite side of that balance, which would be more logic. And that's another reason why self-care is important, so that you can have a moment to think and process your emotions and really, let those things circulate without being interrupted and being frustrated and unhinged with your kids.
That make when you're like saying fight, it makes me think about like fight or flight mode. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying?
Yeah,
So that's
that's
like
what it is.
kind of like, regulating your like nervous system and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that at those times. And I was looking it up as well. And I guess medical astrology, nervous system deals with Mercury, your Mercury
Mm-hmm.
placement.
Yeah.
And it's like practicing, like when you are in fight mode, practicing stuff like being mindful and observing your thoughts and feelings, because your mind is full of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that helps slow it down and like you start to regulate yourself into like maybe deep breathing or stuff like that, or going for a jog. Like usually when I'm in those anxious moments or stuff like that, I like deep breathing, but I also like to work out or move my body in some sort of way, because I know that's an abundance of energy that I'm accumulating, so I have to like release it in some sort of manner. I've been like just having that approach in my mind when I see a situation where I feel like I see myself too anxious, or see myself like I'm panicking, stuff like that.
Yeah, that slow down moment in the midst
Yeah.
of a tantrum or something, to throw yourself into like and without distorting yourself though, but to kind of like balance your own energies. Take a deep breath, like you were saying, and like let things process so that you can have a moment, so that you won't yell, because that's the first thing women do is screech, and to like process it better, because sometimes that's needed too though. That's needed too. So I ain't saying not all the time you don't supposed to use your feminine emotions to center and stabilize the situation, but sometimes you do need to take a moment, so that then that even helps you to see how it would play out if you are to act in a different manner and be a little bit more focused and direct, like a masculine energy would be, so that you can take the situation on head on. But like I said, sometimes the emotion, no reaction can be needed too, because what otherwise there would be no need for the mother.
I was gonna say too, like one thing that I don't know if I would call it like an ideology, but one of my ideologies was like always like if something is outside of yourself, like a kid is someone outside of yourself and they're a person and you're a person. So I always felt like you still do have to put yourself first, and you still can feel and do whatever it is that you want. and it's like a sense of the kid is still responsible for themselves. And this is not pushing it too far, but it's still like a sense of you not having to feel like, you know, like Jackie was saying, like the mom's guilt, you know. So it's like when you do that, because I don't know if it's just who my son is, but he's like pretty independent, but I've always just been like whoever I am and done whatever, you know, whatever I feel. Like sometimes he'd be like, oh, this and that, and I'm like, well, I'm finna still lay down, like I need a good 30 minutes. And it's like it just teaches, like, I guess that sense of independence or like dealing with yourself. So I feel like that helps, like just knowing that the kid is still a person, then they're going to be 18, then 21, and they have to deal with themselves. They have to be a person. Then you have to still be a person too. So
exactly. I agree.
That helps. That helps me a lot. Just not
just let it play out
that,
sometimes.
Yeah, knowing that I'm still able to be a person, and it's like,
yeah, I like that. That's a really good way to see it. It's like a lighter
sometimes
perspective.
I just let it play out. I can hear what's going on, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Let it play out. By that time, I've got a deep breath. I've relaxed and calm myself, and I'm aware of what's going on. And now I can go and handle the situation with a little bit more sturdiness, you know. Even though the house may be towed up at that point, at least I kind of like slowed myself
it's like
down.
Putting yourself in that space to be like whole. Because it's like if you feel like you're a little bit drained, and then you try to deal with a situation, especially with a kid who don't know nothing or don't know better. Not that they don't know nothing, but you know, you could make the situation worse by not being in your 100%. You know, so.